Hey, my name is Jameson Isaac. I make music under the name Daze, and we're gonna take a look at what's on my table, the setup that I've been using to do this tour. It's probably my 5th or 6th tour that I've done solo without a band, and it's taken about that many times to finally get to a place where I feel like I'm really involved in a live sort of way and not necessarily just DJing. So we'll run you through what I'm all doing here. So one of the most important things for me, because I'm traveling by myself and because I really don't tour all that much, I do a lot of flying when I play my shows. And so it's taken a long time to get to a point where I can do a show that has all the gear that I need, but can also be condensed down into a really small mode of transportation. So what I have here is my trusty, very multifaceted backpack that basically all of this goes into. So I fit 2 controllers here. I've got, a couple of, I've got my headphones and phone charger in there, because I also in this bag am carrying some of my personal effects as well. A section for a laptop, an iPad, and then these are for pedals, synthesizer. Now I've got my headphones, my sunglasses, etc. I basically carry this entire set on my back. So this is my the trunk of my van, if you will. So let's start with the devices that I have on stage that are creating the live audio. So the set is a combination of pre-recorded sounds, stuff that I've made in my home studio, mixed with parts that I'm performing live, kind of a blending of the two. So what I have here is the Roland JU06, which is a small part of their boutique series. It's a reissue of the Juno classic synthesizer, but as you can see, incredibly small, powered by USB. It, and still has a lot of functionality. There's a lot of ways that I can affect the sounds that are on there. And what I do is I run through this MIDI cable into this Arturia key step. So I'm using this keyboard to affect all of the synthesis that's happening in here. So with this JU06, I really use it for just a couple of very specific things. There's a patch here that is a recreation of a string sound. And what it ends up sounding like is very sort of droney, very ambient, 80s pad sort of sound. But what's great is through the key step, what I can do is hold a chord. I can press the hold button. It will play without me having to touch anything, and then I can affect certain aspects. So this is a great way to create some space, a little bit more, almost white noise, some less background music. I don't really play a ton of leads on this device. It's more just for creating atmosphere and vibe. And actually a big thing that helps with that is I run all of the sounds that are coming out of this thing into the Boss Space Echo, the RE20, which is a recreation, again, of a Roland Space Echo. And again, another great example of I can tour with these things because I can fit them in a backpack rather than bringing a real Space Echo, a real Juno, which is a big synthesizer. So all of the sounds that I have coming out of this go into here, and one of the reasons why I like to do that is just because while this is a very good recreation of the original Juno sounds, it's new, it's a little bit more digital, and running it through the Space Echo just kind of roughs it up a little bit almost. Gives it a little bit more texture, a little bit less sounding like a new device, and has it feeling a little bit more vintage, a little bit older. So here, let's give it some volume. So this is what it sounds like, just dry, not being affected at all. And when I turn it on, because I'm not doing too much movement with this, the effect is very minimal, but when I start doing something like increasing the noise, you can hear that long delay, nice echo coming off of it. can affect the tap tempo here, so I can give it a certain speed. So if I'm at a certain part of my set that's a little bit faster, I can tap in a faster tempo. As opposed to just kind of a straight, drier sound. The next part of sort of the live aspect of the set is the Yamaha DX Reface. Again, continuing in my trend of taking older synthesizers and using the newer, smaller, a little bit more compact, easier to travel with versions. This was just released a couple years ago, and the sounds in it, again, are very comparable to the original DX7, which is an 80s synthesizer, kind of cheesy FM synthesis sounds. And there's a few different patches that I use. It comes with 4 banks of 8 sounds. And what I've done is gone through and kind of altered the sounds just a little bit so that they fit a little bit more with the songs in the way that I need them to. So for example, this is a sound that I use quite a bit. It's got a bit of a Rhodes electric piano lead sound. So I play quite a lot of the melodies in the set with this specific patch. There's also a little bit more sort of synthy kind of. I use this in a couple songs to play some more lead parts. And then there's also this really great very 80s sounding cinematic soundtrack sort of string sound that's on here that I use every once in a while too. So this is a good segue into what I'm doing is with this live audio, rather than just running it straight into the main mixing board that the PA in the venue will be using, I have this small mixer here. It's just an old Behringer mixer that I picked up, man, a long time ago, 10 years probably. And I run all of it through here. I have a small little bit of EQ here. You can see for the Juno, I've taken out quite a bit of the low end. I dial in a little bit of a volume here, and then I send all of that into the Focusrite interface. So here, all of that audio and all of that signal gets converted into USB and goes into the laptop. And you can see here I'm running Ableton Live. So I have this one and this one. These 2 tracks are where all of this live audio that I'm producing with the Juno and the DX, then going through into the mixer, then the mixer into the interface, right into the computer. So then, once it's in the computer, I have the ability to use software, different effects, VSTs, anything that I have running through my computer, I can alter all of the sounds from this with those different effects. So the main then control, the thing that I use to control all of the stuff in the computer is this, which is the APC-40 Mark II. And not only will you see here that I can, when I hit my send button, I can go, here are the 2 tracks. This is where all the audio is coming in through the mixer. And I can select which send I want. I've got different effects set on all of these. So for example, this one I probably use the most. This is a pretty long reverb. So when that's full and I let go, you're gonna get a long trail. I've got a delay here as well. Here, I'll pick something a little bit more. As opposed to. So then while I'm playing the set, if certain songs require a certain amount of reverb, a certain amount of delay, I have full control over that right through the laptop. Then there's some more stuff going on in the laptop. You'll notice this little cute, colorful device. This is the Cuneo by Keith McMillan. What I have set up inside Ableton is a device called a drum rack. And in the drum rack, I've loaded samples, which I can control through these. So if there's ever a song that requires me to play a live sample, I can do that here. So for example, I have a song called Hidden Worlds, and on that song there's kind of a bell melody that happens. So I took all those samples, I loaded them in here. It's like almost like an MPC or you know, something, yeah, a different sort of drum machine, drum sampler or something like that. So yeah, I have a bunch of samples in here. I've got some drum sounds, different leads. This is like a reverse noise. The thing that I'm really actually stoked on, this device, because it's so tactile, I wanted to try and utilize as much of these parameters and these different buttons as I could. So what would the word be? So I programmed these two buttons to serve as turning on the effects for reverb and delay. So when I hit this button, and then I hit one of the samples, there's a full delay, and this one is a reverb. That way when I'm playing a sample, like these ones for example, I can alter the sample with effects in real time, which has been super fun. It's a great way to, again, be playing samples, but have it feels really tactile playing them. It's not just like, you know, hitting a button, sort of letting it do its thing. I feel like I can alter everything in real time and with a real human touch. Yeah. And then I guess the last thing we could talk about is the main body of the song are all getting played through Ableton, which I'm controlling here in the APC40. So my set kind of runs from left to right like this. These are all individual songs. So I have control over playing them almost like a DJ set. I'll sort of set the song in motion and then play the parts that I need to along with it. But on top of that, I wanted to have an element where I could extend a song longer if need be, or have it feel a little bit more like a DJ set, something that runs seamlessly. And so what I've done is, on a different page, scrolled over from all of the songs, this whole section is all just different loops. So these are all kick drums. These are all snares and claps. This is all percussion. These are all hi-hats. These are a couple of field recordings that I have. This one takes a little minute to load, but it's the sound of like waves. This one's rain. And this one is just a field recording of walking down the street. These are all shakers. So here's a really tight shaker. With the APC as well, I have full faders here, so if I feel like, you know, if I want to, I can mix it on the fly. Yeah, so usually the way that a set will work is, as I'm finishing one song, there will be a little bit of an extension off the end of it where I'll bring in some of those samples, keep the drums going a little bit longer, and then slowly introduce the next song. With all of those loops in, and then take the loops out, and the song will kind of start properly after that. I think that's, yeah, one thing that I really like about doing a set this way, rather than just having turntables or an A to B just switching from song to song, is that it leaves a lot of room for improvisation. It leaves a lot of room for the set to be different or unique for people every night. So for example, the show that I played last night, there was a bit shorter set time, and it meant that there were really quick transitions. Every song had, you know, less improvisation, less sort of room to unfurl and have a little bit of downtime in between. But on a normal night, you know, there can be a song, for example, this one here. This is a song called Endless Light from my new record, and it starts off with just sort of random twinkling piano notes. And usually what I'll do is, before this song comes in, the end of this song, I'll draw it out with a lot of reverb, it'll get really spacey, and I'll sort of play some notes that are in the same key, have it feel like it's extending a little bit longer. And then as that's going on, the song slowly fades in. So it's different really every night. It's rare that I feel like the transitions will all be the exact same. I have parts in mind that I usually use to help those transitions move along, but changes from night to night. Yeah, it's this setup while still existing within the computer. I take advantage of Ableton's Warp system, which means that the tempos of all the songs can be synced together, and the set can be very seamless. There's still a aspect of error. There's room for something to go wrong, which I think is important because, and this is the lesson I think I've learned the hard way, is that I've done sets that were so regimented and were so clean that I felt a little robotic performing. It just didn't feel quite as live. And I think that's one reason why it was really important for me to bring in, the Juno, to bring in the DX, even the sample pad. There's more, it's funny, it feels counterintuitive, but there's more chances that I could play something wrong. But what I like about that is that it's also way more human that way. So rather than just sort of, here's this, like everything lining up perfectly, there's a chance that I could hit a wrong note on a keyboard. There's a chance I could play a sample at the wrong time. I could, there's always an opportunity for something to sort of go off a little bit. And yeah, it makes me feel more involved. It gives me a little bit more of a reason to be really invested in. There's no opportunity for me to like phone in a set. Every single night that you're seeing me do this set, I am very invested in what I'm doing. And I think that comes across as well. I think as I'm performing, you can tell that I'm over here doing this, and then, I gotta make sure that, I'm hitting this sample at the right time, and it's a little mad science on stage. But yeah, I also think it's the most human electronic set that I've done so far. So once everything has gone into the laptop, I have the ability to control everything. The final piece is that it leaves the interface. So I have the interface running both the input, so all of the audio is coming in, and then all of the audio from the laptop is then coming out. And that's going into just a standard stereo DI box. And that gets sent to the main mix at the PA, and our lovely front of house person takes care of the rest of getting it from the mixer to the PA to the crowd. Yeah, a couple other different pieces that are maybe are very functional, maybe not the funnest, but are super, super important, is this USB hub, which runs, powers, and also allows me to control devices within the laptop, the sample pad and the APC40. Because the MacBook only has 2 USB ports, and I have an old MacBook, the new ones don't even have that. It's pretty crucial that I have that. Yeah, in terms of different cabling and other stuff that I'm running here, it's all pretty standard. I have been traveling with a specific power bar that has USB powered, because both the KeyStep and the Juno are USB powered. Different sets that I've done, I've used like an iPhone brick or something to convert USB to just a normal DC power. But it's super nice to be able to come into a place and know I don't have to hope or guess that the venue is going to have some sort of way for me to power these USB devices. Yeah. So in the past, I have, maybe not haphazardly, but without as much thought, sort of pieced together usually an hour-long visual element. For a little while, I had some footage of waves that I used, usually very sort of spacey, more esoteric light than anything else. But this time, for this tour, I've enlisted my friend Casey Kowalczyk to put together specific visuals for every single song in the set. So rather than just sort of hitting play on a laptop with a projector at the back of the room, Casey is there. Not only is he playing the visual for each song, but he's also affecting it, and it's changing as the music is changing. And yeah, we spent a lot of time before the tour sitting, talking, just conceptualizing different, you know, yeah, maybe it sounds a little sort of, again, spacey or esoteric, but talking about different colors that songs evoked, different visual images that I had as I was making the music, and a combination of Casey sourcing out different loops, his own filming, friends filming. We put together this whole collection of visuals, and so every night you're seeing Casey VJ or you know, do a live visual set that's synced up completely with my music. There's also this cool aspect, the software that he uses, which is called Resolume. We've realized that we can sync both Ableton and Resolume, so our computers are talking to each other and they sync the BPM. So when I get to a certain part of the set, say it's at 120 BPM, Casey's visuals can then be affected at that specific beat. So there's a certain clip in the set that, you know, it's like a very computer-generated thing where you see this person sort of running through this very spacey, you know, planet structure or whatever, and he's running on beat with the music. And so it's a small sort of thing that I feel like that sort of intentionality comes across to people, and they can see that, you know, it's something that we've spent time working on and figuring out. Yeah, so you can find my music on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. I also have music on Bandcamp. And yeah, for anything else, Jamison Isaac, JAMISON ISAAK.com.